Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales. I am Johanna Lundström, the author of several sewing books, including Sewing Jeans.
And my name is Malena Hjerpe, and I am a freelance pattern maker.
And in today's episode, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is, incidentally, sewing jeans. So if you're watching the video version, I'm holding up now my latest pair of jeans. How shall I describe them? Like watching video, but they are dark blue straight leg jeans made from a stretch denim with just a small amount of lycra, and I'm really super happy about them. And these jeans are also part of an update for my course, because if long-time listeners remember that in February of 2025 I released the long-awaited, long-talked-about course about sewing jeans, and who am I to say that I will ever feel satisfied about anything? Not me. So of course this fall I've been updating the course with even more lessons. So we said we're going to do a little bit of update of what's going on there. Why should we sew our own jeans, and also what is the course about? So because we've done an episode in the past about sewing jeans, but I thought this was going to be a bit more geared towards maybe inspiring someone to maybe try to sew their first pair of jeans. But yeah, should we first talk about the course? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's pretty describing, like, yeah, you have done a course and now we have updated it, or not updated, maybe you added on.
Yes, more expanded.
Yeah,
I've expanded.
Yeah,
the course.
and that's the thing with, I mean, sewing, and also especially sewing jeans, like you can do it in one way, and then you can add on and do it in another way as well. So there are multiple. What are the add-ons, additional features you have added now?
Yes, I will try to remember them all. So, well, if you're not familiar with the course Denim Mastery, then I will explain what it's about. And if you have already gotten the course, thank you so very much. And some of the updates are already rolled out, and a few more updates will come in the upcoming weeks. And Denim Mastery is the course where I teach you how to sew jeans from start to finish, showing methods that you can use on your home sewing equipment. And every lesson is very concise and clear and very detailed, shows every single step with graphics and videos and illustrations, just to make sure that it's super easy to follow, even if you have not made a pair of jeans before. So that's
It's a beginner's course.
It's a beginner's course, definitely, but I think it's also helpful for those who have maybe sewn a couple of pairs but feel like, I'm not quite getting it right, and there must be a better way. And again, that course is for you. I would not say it's not for an advanced maker, because already know your stuff. You don't need my course. But yeah, so what I've been updating, working on in the last month or so is, first of all, jeans usually have two different versions of closure. Either you have a zipper or you have a button fly. And because I just want to put the course out there, I decided, okay, it's fine with the zipper. Just have a tutorial for a zipper. That's what most of us is going to do, especially if you're doing a fitted jeans. You definitely should zipper, not a butterfly. But butterfly is wonderful. It's an iconic way of doing it. So I knew already from the start that I would update the course, showing also how to do a button fly. And of course, again, like with so many tutorials in this course, you can use this for any type of pants, so you don't have to make it in denim just to sew a button fly. I mean, I showed the steps, and they are definitely applicable to other things. And also another thing that I updated, which was actually inspired by an episode that you and I did when we talked about waistband and the benefits of having a curved waistband. And now a lot of jeans pattern, they come with a rectangular straight waistband, and if your body's quite straight, then it's fine. Or also if it sits on the really highest point of your waist and you're pretty straight, then a straight waistband is definitely nice. But most other situations, we came to the conclusion that a curved waistband is usually much better, because the body has a tendency of moving in and out, And a curved waistband has the benefit of having that shape. So now I also have a tutorial on if you have a straight waistband, how to change it and redraft it, and to remove width at the upper part and retrace it to make it round. And I use that method for the jeans that I just held up here as well, and it worked really, really well. So that's another section. And also I added, one thing, sewing jeans is quite time consuming, and I don't mind that, but I can understand that you might feel like, all these steps and I have to switch thread back and forth, etc., etc. So I also have created a cheat sheet for batch sewing. So if you feel more confident, you don't have to do every single step in order. You can batch sew a lot of things and move away from that specific order that I show in the beginning section, so to speak. And I also have a video introduction for that. And I've also added like vlog styles where I sew these jeans that I just held up. So you can, each section I talk about, what we're going to do, and I show my real life examples of the jeans that I'm making, so I'm kind of making jeans along with you. And also I show some new methods for sewing belt loops as well, using a twin needle and a cover stitch machine. And those are the main things, but there's lots of other minor things as well. So it's a pretty big update. And if you already have bought the course, all the updates are included. But if you want to get the course, you should definitely do it now, because after all these updates are rolled out, I'm definitely going to increase the price. So get it now. That's my insider tip if you're curious about the course. And then, of course, you will get all the free updates without having to pay anymore.
Sounds lovely, and I love the cheat sheet on batch sewing. It made me think of when you film a movie. You don't take first scene, second scene, you don't take them in order. You batch film because you're in one location and then you move to the other location. It's exactly the same thing with So with this sewing machine, and how much can you do before changing the needle or the thread or whatever, or moving on to the next one. So that is a really smart thing. I've never seen that kind of a batch order.
It was such a fine brain exercise, and I did it theoretically first, and then I tried it. I had it as a download for one of the video I have on YouTube. And then I tried it, and I moved around a couple of bullet points because I realized you could maybe do it like this instead. So it was really nice to follow my own batch sheet now for making this. So I can confidently say that these are solid method, and I've used them myself. So I love this kind of thinking about optimizing things. But I would say that if this is the first time you're making jeans, do not follow the batch sheet. That's when you start to itching and you want to speed up the process, because I do think there is a value in doing every step correctly just to understand the process, because it is a little bit different to sew jeans. So that's what I've been doing. And if you want to know what it's like, well, it means that I am filming, cutting, sewing, doing audio editing, graphics, doing illustrations. So it's not like I can snap my fingers and the updates are done. So no, it takes actually a month just to do what might seem like not massive updates, because every minute has so many tiny little edits. But I'm excited about it. It's nice. It's nice to have power of these things, that whenever I feel like I want to add this, no, I realized you could do that instead, then I can just add it to my course. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's the beauty of having digital products. You can update and adjust whenever needed or when you have time. So that's amazing. And I think that's a good lesson also. First of all, that when you do it for the first time, it's good to follow process step by step, so you understand why you're doing it in this order, and so you learn it. Then when you know it, then you can switch things up or change things, because you know what you are doing. You are taking an active decision. But also that there is not, this is the only and one way of doing things. You can do things in different ways, depending on project or style or type or whatever, personal preferences. So there are things you can do in different ways. I mean, for example, belt loops. How many different ways do you show how to do a belt loop?
Three different. So if you have a serger, I show you how to do that. If you have a cover stitch machine, I show you how to do that. If you only have a sewing machine, I show you how to do that with just using twin needles, and lots of tips for that as well. So
and I'm sure there are other ways as well.
Yeah,
so
and
there's
also
not just one way.
No, there's more ways. In my book, I have one more. And also, of course, I show like how to do them enclosed in the lower part of the waistband, or if you just want to top stitch them. So you can keep on doing things. And I mean, this course, if no one is stopping me, this course is going to be massive. So again, you should definitely get it now. That's going to be your best buy.
It's going to keep on growing. And I think it's such a good investment to invest in knowledge and like a technical knowledge. Because as you mentioned earlier, this is how you sew jeans, but you can sew a regular pair of trousers as well with all these techniques. Or chinos or whatever type of trousers. I mean, they can have different pockets or style, but like how you sew a zipper, how you sew a waistband, they are pretty much the same. Pocket, sure, the shape might vary, but the general idea is still valid for all of them. Or a skirt, if you fitting a pair of trousers can be a little bit intimidating. It's a bigger project, but a skirt, that might be the Kickstarter, how to get into sewing with denim or twill, whatever cotton fabric you have. And skirt, you can have the exact same kind of techniques, kind of makings as well. So it really, it's not just jeans. It's more versatile than that, I would say.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. It's very adaptable, and especially also if you like any type of like workwear style of your stitching and details, things like rivets and patch pockets, which, if you're making a pair of cargo pants, for instance, I would say most of the instructions that I show in the course is very much applicable to that. Any type of like heavy duty sewing as well. Because as I said, you can make jeans on your home sewing equipment. Of course, you have to have a decent sewing machine. I mean, let's be real. But apart from that, it's not that difficult. It's just practice. So, and that's why one of the things I love about making jeans is the fact that it is so detail oriented. There are so many little things, and you have to fiddle with hardware, and it's a different kind of sewing compared to, say, something in Jersey. It's probably the opposite. It's funny that I do these two things. I love
polar opposites.
The polar opposite, right? I mean, I teach and sew a lot of knit fabrics, and then I am crazy about denim. So yeah. But I guess the common denominator is the fact that it's very much everyday wear. I don't specialize in formal dressing. I mean, that's not really my forte either. So don't expect me to do a course on tailoring any day soon. Unfortunately, I think other people are much more equipped to do that in a good way. So I was thinking a little bit about, could talk about, because I'm sure a lot of you are listening are maybe, oh, jeans, why should I do that? I can get those in stores, and I wish I could say the same thing, because honestly, to me, it's been such a struggle to find well-fitting jeans. And if I manage to do it, they keep changing the style or discontinuing it. And I don't know what it is, because we talked about in the previous episode about body types and those struggles. For me, when it comes to jeans, for instance, either the waistband is too tight or the waistband is fine, but then they're too baggy in the bum and hip, the thigh area. They're just too loose, because apparently my body is not made for jeans the way the garment industry thinks that jeans should be cut. Or or they cut into the front, because we talked about that with the mom jeans, right, Malena? It's such a horrible feeling when something cuts into your body, and especially with denim as well. If you don't have any stretch, I mean, it's awful. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. So for me, that's the reason why I started to make my own jeans. It wasn't primarily for the creative outlet. It was because I do like wearing jeans, and I mean, I've spent so much time searching for jeans, and it's been so difficult. I cannot be the only one, and I'm blown away by the fact, because all these jeans brands, everyone has, but somehow they still are made in a similar way. I don't know. What's your take on that as a pattern maker, Malena? Why is it hard to get well-fitting jeans when we have so many options out there?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a standardized body. If you are not exactly that, you will have. It will be tricky to find good fitting clothes for you. And also with the jeans, I mean, you maybe have such a specific thing that you want. I mean, the height of the waistband, the tightness of the waistband, the leg width. There are so many parameters that can be changed, and what you desire. So making your own is great. And I have a designer. I haven't worked with her. We've just been in the same department, and she has started. She also has her own brand, and she makes jeans, for example. But it's more of a made-to-measure type of business model. So so they have they standard sizes, but then you can add your sizes to it, and they adjust the pattern basically according to your measurements. So you're not the only one who has a fitting issue. She has clearly noticed it as well, because I mean, she has said that she has the same issues, and the only way to really avoid it or get around it is to make customized garments.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's in that's where we specialize, right? Because that's what we're all about, making your own clothes.
That's why we sew our own garments. We can customize them to our own.
Yeah, it's such an empowering thing to be able to do. So, for instance, because which I talked about in the previous episode, also when we talked about body images and different sizing and things like that, is that I always add a bit extra ease in the waistband, and I rather wear a belt and have room for a stomach or a tummy that might grow and shrink depending on what time of the month I am in, or how much I've been eating or whatnot. So for me, I like to have a little bit of room, because I don't want to be reminded of the fact that something is tight over the tummy. I don't know, it's kind of like an unsettling feeling. So that's one of the hacks that I do, actually, that I add a little bit extra ease in the waistband just to feel more comfortable. So especially if you're dealing with denim that doesn't have lycra in it, for instance, it's so nice. I'd rather have it hang down a little bit or use a belt just to feel comfortable.
Yeah, because also when you sit down, your tummy expands. It's the measurement will be bigger sitting compared to standing. So. And having too tight waistband when you sit, I mean, it's so uncomfortable. Just imagine how much focus and energy goes into badly fitted clothes. Or it doesn't have to be bad fit, but not just a good fit for you. Like, you and the clothes are not a match. So getting a good fit is so crucial. And also, I mean, you can, some jeans I've noticed also have they can have so tight tension on the seams in the waistband. Usually they do it with a chain stitch that is a little bit elastic, but not all of them, and it doesn't have basically any give to it. So to have a waistband that is has a little bit of stretch into it, like a mechanical stretch or something, but it's not 100% stiff. That also I think helps a lot, just wearing them during the day, and so you have a little bit of a wiggle room basically.
A little bit of wiggle room, yeah, that's a very good point. And that's also takes back to the doing a curved waistband, because when you do curve, parts of the waistband will be cut on the bias, and bias means that you will get a little bit of built-in stretch even if your fabric is 100% cotton, for instance, like it's with denim. So that's also an added benefit of using a curved waistband rather than a straight. And also, I should say that when you are cutting a straight waistband, you should always cut it on the lying crosswise. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lost for words. Crosswise rather than along the grain line, because most woven fabric will just have, as you say, Malena, that little bit of give crosswise, even if it's a fairly rigid fabric. But lengthwise, there's usually absolutely zero stretch. And it's also one of the tricky things when you buy jeans. I was with my boyfriend a while back. He was buying a new pair of jeans, and you always hear this conversation from the salesperson. It's like, yeah, but it's gonna do this and that after you wear it for a while. But you cannot be sure. And I have several times been sold on the fact that the waistband will expand several centimeters, and let me tell you, it did not. And that's probably why you say there wasn't any stitching or built-in give in the construction. So I mean, it's just,
and maybe
it's
not all
ruined it for
fabric
me.
will react like that. Maybe they don't grow when you wear them. Maybe some are more stiffer compared to others. So,
Absolutely.
no.
It depends on the washes as well, not buying that as well. And I mean, it depends on the washes as well. Of course, if the denim is heavily washed and the fabric is much more soft, then of course you will have more give, and you know, the fabric will grow when you wear it. But if it's a very rigid denim, I mean, don't count on it expanding to fit your body. Like, that's not how it works, unfortunately. It's a lottery, I think. So you cannot trust the salesperson. I'm a little bit hesitant when they say that, and I've heard it so many times, and I'm sure lots of you are listening, oh, he's gonna do this or this. And another thing, maybe, and I heard the salesperson also talking to another customer, and I guess they could be right, but I wonder if that happened, because a lot of jeans brands now offer hemming services, which is great, of course, that you can get your hem jeans shortened using a great industrial sewing machine. And this sales dude, he was like, yeah, but wear them for a while and then come back, get a feel for it. And I'm like, I don't think that customer is going to go back like in 4 weeks and be like, yeah, now I've felt about it. So to me, it's sounded more like a cop out of not having to do the service that was free of charge. Even though I guess it made sense in a way, but and also, of course, you can't really alter most jeans that you are buying in a store, because you know the seams are enclosed and top stitched over, so there's no way of letting out anything. So you kind of stuck with what you got.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, it's. I've also heard of those. I mean, it's good if you want to wash the garment. It might shrink a little bit, and you see, but yeah, to go back, 80% will probably not.
No. Yeah, and another thing as well, if you're making your own jeans, especially if you're on the short side as I am, at least here in Sweden, there are no petite jeans brands, or they don't offer any petite sizing, which means that, I mean, you can definitely shorten it, but it will be a little bit unbalanced. So for instance, if it's a bootcut jeans, the most narrow part of the leg will where the knee is, that will end up beneath my knee, and the hem width will not be the same as well. It will be more narrow because you have to cut maybe 4 centimeter at the bottom. So when you do your own jeans, you can get all these things exactly right, which is impossible because you cannot shrink the length in that sense. Or for instance, if you, which is a popular style, off and on, have a zipper at the hem, like a straight up zipper. again, you can't fold the zipper up or like make it a little bit shorter. So those are also, I think, great reasons why maybe making your own pair of jeans is actually a really great way of working around that issue that, it's hard. It's hard to fit jeans, store-bought jeans.
Yeah, no, to get everything right, it takes a while, and so be prepared to like do a couple of samples, like that.
Totally.
That is, you have to take that like as a this is what needs to be done before you start to actually sew with your real fancy fabric. You need to make some samples in some similar fabric just to make sure that everything is fitting nicely. But one very particular thing, a seam that is very typical for jeans, the wrap seam, or do you call it that?
Flat fell seam.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that, because I don't think that, I mean, you can do it on regular woven as well, but that is like a really typical jeans featured, basically.
Yeah. So so as you say, Malena, it's a seam that is wrapped around. So if you look inside a pair of store-bought jeans, you can see that oftentimes the yoke and the back crotch is flat fell, which means that there is no serging or overcasting, and there is no fraying. So instead, the edges are enclosed and then top stitched over. And then, of course, in the garment industry, they use specific flat felling machine. That instruction is in my course. no, in my book, I mean. Sorry, so many things. In my book, Sewing Jeans, I show 2 ways of doing that. Either a manual way, which is very closely mimics the industrial method, and I also show how to use a flat felling presser foot on your regular sewing machine. Definitely something that I will hopefully update the course in the future. But it's a great seam, and I think I am confident in saying that I've figured out a way to do it without having any special machine. It's pretty clever, if I say so myself. So if you don't have my book Sewing Jeans, which you can also buy the ebook version, you can get as a bundle if you get the course, if you don't have it. So you can get access to that information in the book where I show this method. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you can like, so I had to rip a few jeans apart and figure out the seam allowance, because you have to have different seam allowance for the right piece and the left piece because of the overlapping. So it's definitely not a beginner thing. I would definitely say make a couple of jeans and then you start experimenting with the flat felling technique.
Because you can get the more or less the same visual effect from the outside with just regular straight stitch, overlock, and then top stitch, do 2 top stitching. I mean, it will visually look the same thing from the outside then.
Yeah. So what I'm holding up now, if you're watching the video version, this is the latest pair. I've done just as overcasted. So on the outside is regular top stitching, and on the inside you can see the serged edges like this. But I will just jump. Stay back.
Johanna is running and getting something now, and I can just share a little fun fact in the meanwhile. You can usually one of the side seam. I think it's usually the inside seam that is done like in industrial. They have like the flat fell seam, but then on the outside it is a regular seam and maybe top stitched or not, because you can't do it on both. There is a machine limit, like you can do it on one seam but not on both, because then the leg would be like too small cylinder basically to fit in the machine. So that's on why it is only on one of the, usually on the inside seam and not the outside seam. So it's only one in the industrial environment.
Yeah. And it's the same goes if you're sewing your own pair of jeans as well, that you won't be able to top stitch both the outer seam and the inner seam, so you have to decide, do you want to top stitch the inner seam, then you sew that first and top stitch it, and then you sew the outer seam. Or if you want to have top stitch on the outer seam, then you do that first and then you join the inner seam. So yeah, so what I'm holding up now is a pair of jeans that I made also with the flat fell method as you can see if you're watching the video version on YouTube, no edges viewed, everything is nicely enclosed. And I will say that I think it looks pretty good without...
Looks
What do you say, Malena?
professional. Yeah, I mean
Thank you.
it's a clean look when you don't see any
Very clean look.
overlock seams.
Yeah.
It looks
So
very,
there is a
very
way of doing
professional
it.
looking.
Yeah, thank you. But I don't do it every time. I mean, honestly, I don't look at the inside. I do it for the challenge. I don't do it every time because it is a little bit more tricky for sure. And I don't do it for the inseams either. I just top stitch them over with like I did here. So if I'm holding up now the patterns, the latest patterns we're talking about, where you can see that, as Malena says, you have to decide. One seam has to be pressed open. Usually when I'm holding up now, it's the outer side. So the seam allowance is pressed apart, and then I use the regular serger stitch. And then the inside is pressed in one direction to the front, and then top stitch over with one or two rows of stitches. So that's how it looks. That's the difference. So again, that's one of the fun things about jeans, because it's kind of like a mind puzzle. You have to think things through before you start doing it, because also once you top stitch, it's like, oh dang, I should have done that. Which again, as you say, it's good to do a proper sample and get the fit right before you start sewing, because it is tricky to figure those things out. I mean, the side seams, the outer side seams, you do have control over, since those seam allowances are pressed apart. But all the other things, once you top stitch, it's gonna be tricky.
Yeah, it's difficult to adjust anything after you've done all the top stitching. It is very tedious work to unpick those seams.
Yeah. So what are you? Are you team non-stretch, or are you team slightly stretch or more stretch? What's your fabric take when it comes to jeans?
It depends. I mean, I haven't sewn any jeans for myself, so now I'm just speaking from what type of jeans I like to wear. Either it's more loose fitted jeans with no stretch in it, or tight, skinny fitted jeans with stretch. I can't do quite tight and no stretch. Like, that's a no-go for me. It's too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, but what do you prefer to when you work, when you actually sew jeans? What do you think? Is there any difference if it's easier or not with or without stretch?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess, of course, with stretch, the fit is a little bit more forgiving. But it's also a little bit more tricky to sew, because you have to, with the top stitching, for instance, you're working with, it's a little bit more like sewing with a stretch fabric, which means that, for instance, you want to keep some of the stretch, as you mentioned, with the waistband, so maybe you should use a little bit of a shorter stitch length compared to regular denim, for instance, when you're top stitching, because you want that little bit give. And sometimes it's also harder to get that really beautiful exact top stitching if the denim is a little bit more on the stretchy side, so it kind of almost, it doesn't like a knit fabric, but it feels a little bit more, the hand changes a little bit. So when it comes to just sewing, I definitely prefer working with pure denim cotton rather than the stretch version. But for wear, yeah, I like, since I like fairly fitted jeans for the most part, I definitely enjoy having a little bit of stretch, but not too much. I mean, my dream jeans fabric is always when they have 1 or at the most 2% lycra, because that gives them a little bit of stretch, but it doesn't change the hand of the fabric. Because sometimes I feel like those really stretchy denim fabrics, they almost don't feel like denim anymore. I mean, it's a different kind of, it's more like technical fabric in a way. But I miss the kind of denim feel.
Yeah, I can understand that. And when it comes to the top stitchings, like, don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get it 100% correctly, or like it's a little bit uneven. I mean, when you sew on industrial sewing machines, there are specific machines for just top stitching. That I've done it when I was in school many years ago, where you have like a 2 needle, not a twin needle, but like a machine with 2 needles, and then you can pause the one needle and the other needles continue. So that's how you are able to sew corners, like turned corners, that they are
Nice.
still
Yeah.
sharp. So that is why it's so much easier to make them like 100% straight to each other and do those curves or corners. But yeah, when you have your regular sewing machine, I mean, then you need to sew those separately. Like you need to sew them twice, and to get them completely aligned, it is trickier, of course. So don't be too
Yeah.
hard on yourself.
Yeah. And also there's a charm, I think, in having something that doesn't look exactly 100% pristine. I mean, the whole thing about denim is that it's workwear and that it gets more beautiful with age. That's why some people love to buy like dark indigo denim and then let it fade where it naturally fades, like at the knees or at the crotch area and the thighs. And I think you can approach it the same way with the stitching as well, that there is a value in jeans that they have this kind of like handmade touch to it in a way. So that's what you can actually achieve when you're sewing yourself. What is might feel like a disadvantage could actually be an advantage because it gives your denim a bit more life. The fact that you will not get all the seams 100% even. I mean, even I will say I'm pretty good at sewing jeans. I will say that, but I mean, obviously, there is not. I mean, every bar tack is not meticulous. I mean, bar tack is those narrow zigzag stitches you use to secure the back pockets, for instance, and the belt loops. I mean, if I look close, I can see, yeah, maybe not, but I mean, I don't mind. And I mean, things will wear down as well. So that also changes the appearance of it. So don't feel discouraged by that. To me, the challenge is more to figure out, looking at what is done in the garment industry and then try to figure out ways that one can do it on the home sewing equipment. And that's what I show now in the tutorials that I've added for the belt loops, that I use a bias tape binder, those that you use to create like narrow bias tape that you do like Hong Kong finishes for garment. And I realized they have one of those have the exact same width as a standard belt loop. So you can just put a denim strip into the bias binder, press it, and then top stitch it using a twin needle on your sewing machine. And it's very similar to the way it will look when it's done with the folding attachment on an industrial cover stitch machine. And yeah, so very, very simple. You just need a twin needle that can take denim, and you can buy those, and a bias tape folder that you might already have. And then there you go.
Sounds like a good idea. When you do a belt loop,
So the ones I'm holding here now is done with the bias tape. So as I'm holding up now, if you're watching the video version, sorry. These are actually on the cover stitch machine, but so you can see the beautiful loop thread on the reverse side. But as I said, you can also do it using a twin needle on your sewing machine.
And when you do the belt loops, you sew them in one go and then you cut them apart, right?
Yep, exactly. So it's very... So I do have a bonus tip if you're a little bit anxious about them fraying. I mean, normally they are never, if you look inside any jeans, they are never edge finished. They are just top stitch over using bar tacks. But I added that in one of my like vlog introduction. I show what you can do after you cut them. If you will, one of the days the stitching will start to disintegrate. I show a little bit tip for how to do that as well. But if you a little bit on that side, want to safety measure.
Yeah, and it depends a little bit on your fabric as well. I mean, some frays more than other. Usually denim don't have a fraying issue, but I mean, yeah.
No, and it's usually more of stitching unraveling, I would say, because obviously since you top stitch everything in one single row, then you cut it up. Of course, thread might be let loose a little bit, and it might start to unravel if you're unfortunate, but usually it's not a big it's never really been a problem, but I decided to show how to do it anyway, just in case.
Yeah, but that's a good thing to cross all the T's and what do you think?
Yeah.
But how many denims have you sewn now in the last couple of years?
Oh, I remember that I made my first pair of jeans in the early I think it's called Otis, like in the early 2000s. So I've been sewing jeans for close to 25 years. So I have no idea. I mean,
You lost count.
yeah, definitely lost count. Dozens, and it's so funny because I feel like I'm very proficient at sewing jeans, but I still have ways that I realize that you can improve things, and that's why it's nice to do like updates to the book and updates to the course, and they figure out things. And the beginner mistake that I did, which I know some other people have done as well, is the fact that as we don't have specific top stitching machine, and one the mistake I did when I made my first pair, I thought, oh nice, I'm going to use heavy thread in the bobbin, a heavy thread in the needle, so I'm going to get a really nice look. And of course the heavy thread in the bobbin gets super jammed because my sewing machine was not equipped to feed and keep an even tension, so it was like a jumbled and not up the mess of the bobbin thread and the top stitching thread. So then I had this aha moment. Of course, I use regular sewing thread in the bobbin, and then I can use top stitching thread in the needle. And I mean, who's gonna look inside? Well, not me. So for instance, I'm holding up now, you can see inside, if you're curious, on the outside you can see the heavy thread where I top stitch the waistband. And then on the inside, I mean, you can still see the thread. It's golden thread, but it's honestly, I don't think, if you're not really like a jeans head, you can't really tell. And if now I use golden thread in the bobbin, but if you're a little bit unsure of getting it, you can also use like the same blue thread as the denim fabric, and then you can't tell.
But what did you do on ready to wear? I haven't worked with that many jeans. Like, do they have heavier top stitching thread also on the inside, or I mean, the garment industry?
They often use a chain stitch, a single needle chain stitch, and the benefit of doing that is that it also has a little bit of give, as you said.
But is it what kind of thread do you know? Is it the same thickness or is it thinner?
I think it looks a little bit like the same thickness, and it's easy if you have a chain stitch or a cover stitch machine, technically, because the looper, you can use heavy thread in that without having the same issues, because it doesn't move the same way as on a sewing machine. And I've hemmed jeans using my single needle on my cover stitch machine, which I show in my book, Sewing Jeans. But there is a limitation to that, which is that on heavy denim, your domestic cover stitch machine won't be able to do it. So for instance, I have never tried to top stitch the waistband, because you're sewing through so many layers with my cover stitch machine. I think that's asking for trouble. It's just much more. So to me, I don't mind. It doesn't look exactly. Again, I don't mind that they look homemade, because they are.
Also, like why I'm asking, I don't think it's a bad thing that it's a regular sewing thread on the inside, because that is usually 100% polyester. The top stitching, is that also polyester or is it cotton?
You can buy both, or a mix. I'm usually using, if you want me to name names, I'm a big fan of Gutermans. I think the pronunciation.
Yeah, I mean they are really good.
Very good quality top stitching thread, and they do have a couple of different golden colors for denim.
Yeah, and you want to avoid polyester, of course, but for threads, they are more durable. 100% cotton thread, they are gonna break more easily. So that's also why I'm thinking like the polyester thread on the inside is actually a better, more durable option, because it's not going to be worn down basically when you wear it. So it's not a bad thing to have just a regular sewing thread on the inside. It's a good option, I think.
Yeah, I think
and
it's a
if
good
you still
option.
want to have a thicker thread in the bobbin, just loosen the tension a little bit on the screw. I know you are more like, ooh, I don't want to touch that. I have no problem adjusting that little screw a quarter back or forth. So you can adjust it.
You can do it, yeah. And I actually do it sometimes, and I will say that I am definitely not a big fan of it, but I do have a second bobbin that is my experimentation bobbin. Which I let loose on. So,
That's a
but
good
I've
have
just
a spare one.
yeah, but I've just come to the conclusion that, if save yourself trouble and use regular thread in the, I mean, always try for sure. But those are one of the like hacks or things I think you can definitely compromise on when you're making your own jeans, that, it doesn't have to be that way.
No, I also have
Yes.
had trousers where I think it was a chain stitch then on the inside, but it was also like tension was way too tight and it was such a thick thread as well. I mean, it was uncomfortable. It was like carving into your body because it was really like, it wasn't subtle, that seam. You could feel it when you wear it, and it was not good at all. I mean, it was the issue in production, I think. But yeah, so it's not a bad thing to have just a regular sewing machine thread on the inside.
No, absolutely. And also, if you're doing a waistband or using very stretchy denim, I think I mentioned this previously in the episode as well, shorten the stitch length, because if you have a slightly shorter stitch length, you will get more built-in stretch, or maybe not go all too wide, because then you do run a little bit of risk, either the seam popping, or that it won't have any stretch. It's just too few insert points basically to get that nice stretch. And you definitely, if you have a stretchy denim fabric, you definitely want to stretch in the waistband as well. Otherwise, kind of what's the point?
Exactly. But I saw on the newsletter you just sent out, I saw a picture of not a button and buttonhole for the waistband. You had is it hook and eye, but like a bigger. Do you call it hook and eye as well then?
Yeah, I think it's called hook and eye. The kind of dress pants hook and eye, where you don't see a visible button on the outside of the waistband, so the enclosure is kind of hidden inside. Yeah, because what I was talking about, you should get on my newsletter if you haven't. I sent out a newsletter earlier this week where I showed three very different ways of doing denim. And one of those was actually I did a dress pants pattern, and but I used a jeans zipper and jeans fabric, like a stretchy denim fabric, and I get so many compliments for those jeans. Nobody sees it's a denim until I say so. So it's funny because it's like a dark broken twill, and it looks great. So it's nice sometimes to mix things. And the other version I showed is actually a regular pants, not a jeans pants, with slanted side pockets and darts in the back, in not back pockets. And then you top stitch the darts, which was so fun as well, because I haven't done that before. Top stitching darts with golden thread, it turned out beautiful. It added some interest as well in the back. So you can definitely deviate from, the traditional jeans elements and still make something that feels like a pair of jeans in some ways.
Yeah, I think that's a fun thing about jeans. Like, they're such an iconic garment, such a staple wear, but you can do other things as well with the denim fabric or jeans making on regular twill or whatever. You can really switch it up, so you can make it your own, your unique garment. So I think it's such a fun it's a fun garment to experiment with as well.
Absolutely.
And just top stitching colors can have a huge impact on the outlook. So you can just use the same pattern that if you have gotten it perfect, you can do so many other design details, features with just changing top stitching colors or pocket design or whatever. So there's so many things you can do to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a fun way. And also with jeans, you're going to wear them. That's the great thing. You can make some fancy pants and you might not wear them as much, but jeans, you're going to wear them because, when you get them right, they are the most comfortable thing and the most durable thing. And you can dress them up and you can dress them down. They kind of work in so many different environments, I think, today. And we talk about this, and we're going to post, of course, photos as well over at Instagram, Stitching Tales Pod, about all the things I've mentioned today. I understand that if you're watching, it's a little bit hard to see all the things we're talking about, but we're definitely going to post some photos. And Of course, also you should get my course, Denim Mastery. If you haven't, you can definitely check it out. I will link to it in the description section. And as I mentioned always, as these updates that I mentioned, they are no additional cost if you get your course before I've updated them all. So you should do that. Now we're talking in early October. So in late October, I will probably do the price hike to reflect the updated version. So you know that. So grab it
And
now
if you already
want to.
have the course, you will get them automatically.
Absolutely. And if you get the course now, you will also get any future updates, which, I haven't really done yet, but there will be more. Maybe flat felt seam tutorial and such. They will also, of course, be included.
Yeah, and I mean, and take this as an opportunity. Make some wishes if there are any techniques on jeans that you are struggling with and you don't really know how to do and want to be illustrated in a better way. Send Johanna a mail. Now you got a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be an
Absolutely.
update
I'm
in the
all
course.
for it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there are more ways of doing it. So let's keep creating this course together. Thank you. So I'm very grateful for any input. All right then. Well, I think that's about it. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. My name is Johanna Lundström.
And my name is Malena Hjerpe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.